Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're going to tell you how we felt about the Inhumans pilot. This is at IMAX right now, and we talked about this when it was first announced, how interesting it was that instead of making an Inhumans movie, they had decided to, they had elected to make a TV show and drop the first episode, or the first, 2 episodes as a 2-hour pilot in the theaters on IMAX and shoot it in IMAX cameras. So, of course, like I think we were supposed to, I think we were supposed to expect that it would be this grand, epic, cool thing that was as good or better than having a movie. You know, you get this big budget, and it's this going
to be on IMAX. It's not just going to be in movie theaters. It's going to be on IMAX.
It's going to be huge. Obviously, they're not going to be silly enough to make something that doesn't look great large, right? You wouldn't do that.
No, that would be terrible.
So we can get all excited about it because, especially if you like Inhumans already, you'd be like, oh, cool. Instead of making a movie, I'm going to get like a whole season of this and maybe more if it does well. They keep making it or something. And what we just watched is not what I pictured.
No. In
my head when they first announced that.
Well, I mean, it is what I pictured in my head when they first announced that, but
really?
That's because I assumed it was going to be bad from the get-go.
See, I didn't assume that from the get-go. Of course, once we saw trailers, I was like, "Ooh, boy! I hope maybe there's actually something here, and you're just showing the bad parts." But anyway, so we decided begrudgingly to go ahead and go see it, and we're gonna tell you what we thought of it.
We spent a good chunk of dough on it.
One thing I was surprised by, yeah, we'll talk about that. One thing I was surprised by is I thought this was gonna be like a one-night-only thing. Like 5 days or more?
It's run for like a week.
Yeah, and it has like regular movie times. Like you can...
Yeah, there was like 4 showings today.
Yeah, all day you can pick a showing and go see it. So anyway, pilot of Inhumans. In preparation, I haven't finished this, but I read the majority of what is considered the run on Inhumans. This is a maxi series by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee that came out in the late 90s. And so now I'm somewhat familiar with Inhumans and know something about it. And I never used to care at all about Inhumans, and I think I made the mistake of getting a little invested in something before I went and saw this. And
well, and I bought that about a month ago at half price,
right?
With the intention of, hey, we should read this and review it before the premiere starts, and then it got away from us, and you just started reading it. Like a day ago. And
Eric hasn't read this yet. I like this a lot. We're going to go ahead and do a vault on this, hopefully sometime in the near future. But anyway, so I now know a little bit about Inhumans, and I can talk about that somewhat articulately as we're discussing this. But I will say right up front, out the gate, knowing the source material did not help my enjoyment of this material. Eric, how'd you feel, buddy, about the pilot on IMAX of the Inhumans show coming out in later this month on ABC?
Well, it made me feel like I was watching Marvel's answer to Heroes.
Oh, that's good.
This feels... I said this before while we were discussing it. This feels like if you told me that this was a long-lost pilot from like the early 2000s that we just like found and nobody knew about, I would believe you 100%. I mean, aside from like the 2 references to S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever.
It's Dark Tower.
Yeah. This feels like what Marvel would have made around the era of Smallville and Birds of Prey and Heroes, like that kind of a thing. This is dreadful. There's very little that I could say good about it. The budget isn't large enough, or the people working aren't talented enough to make it look good. The costumes are horrendous. No one has any presence.
No.
Medusa has no presence. And then Crystal belongs in the Disney Channel.
Yeah. Yeah, she's Crystal in the wrong way. She is real transparent, and yeah.
I like the guy that does Maximus a little bit. I know him from...
I didn't like him at all,
from Misfits. He's on that show. And maybe it's just because he's doing completely different performance here. I was like, oh, that guy has some range. He can do something. I feel like he could have been better with better material.
Yeah, but I think he was the wrong casting choice for Maximus, but then that's not the character they're doing, is the problem.
So, what it comes down to is, like, This is a show that could theoretically have an interesting premise, and they immediately abandon it.
Yeah.
The whole pitch for this show should be, we're doing superhero Game of Thrones.
Right.
And I almost feel like they sold it like that.
They did.
We
That's how they talked about it.
We immediately abandoned that.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of the first episode,
it becomes the problem with the Thor movie. We go to Earth, and it's not
and
interesting
it gets really
anymore.
boring,
Yeah.
and we get kind of slapsticky in places, and just it's
really
terrible.
generic lane comedy.
Not feeling it. Not feeling it at all. Yeah, it's really bad. Stop letting Scott Buck make TV shows. How about we do that? How about we start there for any future television production? Is Scott Buck involved? Well, we're not going to make it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I will say it was less boring than Iron Fist.
It is less boring than Iron Fist, but we only watched 2 episodes.
That's true, but the first 2 episodes of Iron Fist are more dull than this.
That's true.
Eric, this made me feel like I spent $12 so I wouldn't waste my time planning to binge a whole season of this when it dropped. Which I guess I could do by watching it when it comes out, but this is just sort of a personal thing with me. I don't pay for cable. I just stream things. So I guess that's a positive thing for me. I know I'm not going to watch this show.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a giant waste of time, and or at least this pilot for me was a giant waste of time. And like I said, knowing anything about the source material didn't help it. Here's the thing. Obviously, as I always say, it doesn't have to be just like it is in the comics for me to be interested in it, but this premise doesn't work anymore because of what we did with S.H.I.E.L.D. And if we had completely abandoned that and retconned it and made it its own thing, maybe it would have been better. But you've got this whole isolationist angle with Inhumans in the comics, and if they are this like really elusive like mysterious group that nobody has ever heard of and isn't even sure they really exist, that's so much more interesting on the outset than all these people on the planet, all these people on Earth have become Inhumans, and there just happens to be this society of them living on the moon that nobody knew about. Mm-hmm. I think it's really difficult, not impossible, but it's difficult to make the classic original Inhumans premise work with what you're already stuck with. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying that you couldn't make that work, but I don't think this was the team to handle that. I don't think the talent is there.
No. Well, and the talent just isn't there for the political family intrigue thing.
Yeah, that's where I was going next.
Everything's so just...
It's real obvious, it's real surface, and it feels like I didn't feel like there was a real good impetus to get the ball rolling for
why now is a big question.
For what makes Maximus like try to take over the throne. I mean, really, it's as simple as there's an Inhuman that is Triton who has gone to Earth, and I'm not even sure why he's there.
He's there. Remember, it opens with him getting that girl. He's been collecting the Inhumans on
oh, is that what it is? Okay,
yeah.
okay. And he has maybe gotten killed. And so so we send down some Inhumans to investigate, and that ends up being kind of a diversion so that while Black Bolt is meditating during his normal meditating time. I don't know if it's normal meditating time, but he's meditating. Black Bolt or Maximus can create this coup that apparently takes like an hour, and it's to take over the city of Atalan. And now he's gotten it taken over, and like maybe they were planning it for a while, but that all seemed way too easy to me.
Well, and it had this issue of who are all these guards? If Black Bolt's a beloved king,
yeah,
where are all of these guards with guns coming from? Because they don't speak, so we get like no impression. Like I get that like the chick like maybe believes in Maximus or something like that, but like all of these thugs just because they're the royal guards.
Yeah.
We're told they're the royal guards. We never see him convincing them. They just turned. I don't understand.
Yeah,
I also don't know why they all have guns, because there's no imagination in this show.
No, and that's another thing I was going to mention. So what let me backtrack for a second and say that originally I was kind of excited when I heard Inhumans wasn't going to get a movie. That they had either staved it off or just decided they weren't going to do that, because it's not a thing I cared about, and I didn't need that. I was tired of Inhumans taking over in the comics so much. I was tired of the movies trying to treat Inhumans like X-Men just because they're fighting with Fox. And Inhumans, one of the big takeaways for me with this is Shakespearean regal political drama. It's not X-Men, you know, at all. It's a very different thing, and I mean, it's still like the humans hate and fear us, but for very different reasons. It's about isolationism. It's about it's about the politics of that. It's about the consequences of not getting involved, but the reasons that a society might not want to be involved in other things. And the big thing that this, and we'll review this later, the big thing that I understood in this finally is what makes them inhuman. Like why is that what they call themselves? What is it that they don't like about humans where they want to be so detached from that and not think of themselves that way, and with, like, you know, with the Terrigen Mist turning them all into different creatures and stuff, what is it about them that holds them all together? And it is individuality. It's that if you look, this is going to be very important in a minute, if you look like anybody else, you're not special and you might as well be human. That's kind of the idea. And everybody looks the same in this show with little token differences. It's that X3 thing.
There's a point when Maximus is speaking to the crowd, and there's a crowd below him and behind him, and there is one or two people that they put some prosthetics on. It's a crowd of just people, just normal people.
It should look like aliens. We've been watching and reviewing Babylon 5, and we've been talking about how amazing, with the small budget they have, they're able to make the prosthetics in that show, and that was, you know, 25 years ago. Where is that in this show?
We get one prosthetic in the show,
and that's it. And he doesn't even look great.
He doesn't look as good as was it Mermaid Boy in the Tick episode with the.
That's going a little far. I think it's about on par with that. But Fish Boy, Lost Prince of Atlantis.
Yes,
But the point of the Inhumans is they're not like the X-Men. Most of them do look really different. I mean, you have human-looking ones, but there's usually something that's pretty blatantly not human about them, and it's not just whatever they can do. And there's this talk about how, like, when the Terrigen Mist hits you, maybe it takes a while for it to fully come to fruition. That's not the way it seems to me in the comics, and it's. But, I mean, maybe that's consistent with S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit. So, I mean, again, they're kind of stuck with that material a little bit. But they do that just to kind of force drama, right? Where it's like, you know, somebody will get hit with Terrigen, and then they're trying to decide if they need to make them part of the lower caste, because they have a caste system. And they did keep that. You know, on Adelan, there's this caste system where if you are... if you don't get a cool enough power, if you don't get changed enough by the Terrigen Mist, you're considered like kind of a lower species. And it's the mythology and the lore is fascinating, and they made it feel boring and uninteresting. And I'm really glad. One of the reasons I am glad that I read up on it a little bit before I went and saw this is I would have felt somewhat vindicated watching this, not looking at source material, going, "See, Inhumans is not interesting." No, it actually is. It's actually really interesting, and it made it, but it did make it harder to watch this because of that. Black Bolt is one of the most fascinating characters in comics. The more I read about him, and this guy's not Black Bolt, and I don't like Black Bolt in the comics is. And again, you don't have to be exactly the same, but pardon me. But what is interesting about this guy? He's not as all-powerful as he is in the comics, and so his not speaking and having to be so have so much self-discipline doesn't feel like as big of a deal to me. I don't feel for him as much.
Well, and he doesn't really have self-discipline, because his face for like the entire show is like,
yeah, he just looks angry all the time.
Yeah. See, this is why now he's way too old at this point.
Yeah.
But if Black Bolt needed to be somebody like Doug Jones. Because what they did was they got a guy that can move his face, which is not the same as actually emoting with your face. Like, they got somebody who can make expressions. He's very expressive, but there's nothing going on there. You can't read into it. You want somebody that, like Doug Jones, who can, like, he's a physical actor. You can get things from him moving, so you're not so reliant on...
I would make the argument that what you need is somebody like Leonard Nimoy. I think Black Bolt is a Vulcan.
Okay.
I see Black Bolt more as this really stoic figure who has mastered his emotion. And he still feels, but he's able to keep it all completely in check, because if he doesn't, he could destroy the planet on accident. That's Black Bolt. This is a guy who, because when he speaks, horrible things happen around him. Not only does he have to be mute and never say anything, but he has to constantly meditate. This is in the comics. He has to constantly meditate so that he doesn't accidentally speak when he's sleeping. This is all fascinating stuff that you could really get a lot of mileage out of in an ongoing serialized drama. This is potentially a good thing to do multiple episodes for. But I gotta tell you, now that I've seen it, with production value and with this, I think, kind of level of incompetent writing, I wish they left it on the slate. I wish this had been a film.
Yeah.
I really do. Because now I feel like there's a... Now that I've read this, I feel like there's a good movie there. And I would have liked to have seen that. Barring that, a Netflix show.
Yeah, yeah.
But not by Scott Buck. I mean, this is what sucks, is that this guy has now ruined a show on Netflix and on broadcast television.
Yeah.
Let's talk about IMAX.
Okay.
So, like I said earlier, that seemed exciting because it meant that they were taking it seriously and you know, giving it the budget that it needed. And what it watches like to me is like, well, I think that a lot of the stuff that doesn't look great probably looks more fine on a smaller screen. Like,
yeah, if we watched it right there.
Yeah, yeah. Watching it huge, all the blemishes show.
Yeah.
Like,
what? Anytime we cut to Adelan, I had a split second because it just looks like a building in a city. Where I was like I'm pretty sure they just took a building and like CGI'd in the whatever Black Bolt symbol is.
Yeah.
Because I kept being like, wait, they're on Earth? Oh no, they're still in Adelan. It happened like 3 times
there
where
are
I was
a couple of
confused for a
shots
split second.
where they show a larger city, they show more of the city, and I guess the design of it is fine, but the CG's not great.
No, and obviously, Lockjaw.
Yeah, like they can't.
CG.
Yeah, and so we talked about this with Iron Fist, where Scott Buck is just terrified of. It feels like this comic book mythology where he's got to try to ground. Is it just a matter of trying to make it feel more serious? Is that what he's doing? Is he overcompensating that way?
But you know what's really annoying is the opening, which I think looks all right, emphasizes these things that aren't in the show because you have.
Oh, I thought that was real generic.
You have Maximus's like outfit or symbol or whatever, and it's green. He wears no green.
No, they did Karnak, so I don't know that Maximus has a symbol.
Well, they did like the jacket, like here, as if there's like a symbol here.
Okay.
And there's no color, and it doesn't look like that. And when Lockjaw shows up at the end of it, he's got the tuning fork on his face.
As if we're supposed to just understand, yeah, this is on TV, we couldn't possibly do the tuning for it. He's a CG creature. Now, I think they probably shot a dog and then CG'd over it, because it's weird how it's like realistic and not all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the very least, they what's that called? They motion captured a dog.
I think that's what they did. Yeah. The effect for him disappearing is what it looks like in the comics. So I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess. But and here's the thing: there are a lot of flashes of what Inhumans is in the comics, and that kind of makes it worse. But it feels like they're just using source material they don't fully understand. Like the idea that Black Bolt is a pacifist and he doesn't, and he tends to, or he's a pacifist up until the point where he can't be, and he tends to kind of wait out things until the last possible moment. And they talk about that at the beginning, where your answer is always to do nothing. That's all over that book. That's what he's doing in that book when the human military is trying to break into the city. He keeps saying, "We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything," and he has a plan. And Karnak won't explain to people what it is. He's like, "No, there's a reason, but I can't tell you what it is." They kind of play with that a little bit, and then he shows up on Earth and he starts breaking people.
That's and that's a major problem with the beginning of this is. We rush so fast to tear everything down.
Yeah.
I never get a sense. They keep saying like, Black Bolt's the king, and he's got a plan and stuff like that, and like we're supposed to trust him. We never get a sense of why.
Do you think the show is hard to follow if you're not at all familiar with the source material?
I
wonder.
I don't know. But the way that the beginning of this plays,
because I don't know that we got a great sense of status quo.
No, we have no sense of status quo, because what it seems like at the beginning of this show to me is that they're like rich people living here, because we never see them interact with the lower caste people like at all. Like, it seems like they're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get a sense that like they're doing things, like that they have a job to these people, and that they're like, it just seems, I don't know. Like, I got no sense of A, what they do on like a day-to-day basis, and B, what their relationship to the actual people of Adelan is at all. Because I didn't even get a sense that they don't like them. Even Maximus's speech about like, well, maybe we should go to Earth. Yeah, Earth!
So how have you never thought of this before?
I didn't get a sense that those people hated the royal family.
Yeah.
They didn't love their situation. But like, I have no sense of status quo at all before we tear it all down.
Yeah.
It's like it almost assumes it assumes that you already know this.
Yeah.
You know what the Inhumans are.
And if you do, at least I didn't think it's very compelling or satisfying. So even knowing it is a problem. Yeah. So I don't want to go on any longer in case people end up watching this. I don't want to give too much away. Yeah. But like, I'm definitely not feeling it. And the big thing for me is I want to see this done well now, because I think there's a great political thriller here. And for television, what you do with it is you make it Asgard meets the X-Men, right? Like, once you meet the humans, you would have a little bit of that X-Men thing, a little bit, but it would be a different flavor. And so you could really win me over with that, where like you do sort of have your X-Men, but it's different. There's a
this really felt Asgard light.
Yeah. I don't know. It was hard to watch, and it was harder to watch in that setting.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least, don't go to the movie theater and pay money to see this.
Yeah. Watch the premiere on television if you have to see how it is. Do not pay $12, $13.
There is just no good reason that at the very least you can't have the costumes and the prosthetics and make these look like.
Oh, there was no
Inhumans.
Effort put into the prosthetics at all.
Because again, well, and a lot of characters that should have them don't have them, and like even Karnak looks like a really generic, watered-down version of Karnak.
No, he's just a guy with tattoos.
Yeah, but like that is what Karnak is. But you could make it look more alien and bigger, and it's everything's too subtle looking, but everything in the script writing is too blatant and obvious.
It's really bad.
It's rough. Anyway, so everybody, thanks so much for watching. We sure appreciate it. If you saw the pilot for Inhumans, leave us comments. Let us know what you thought of it, and we will see you again with more videos here this week on Geekvolution. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you later, folks.
Do